Welcome to Groovy and Grails webinar series from JPassion.com. Today's topic is GSP, Groovy Server Pages. So let's start with the presentation. So these are the set of topics that we are going to cover. So we will cover GSP basics. We have actually used GSP already in several of our sample applications so far, so you probably have a reasonably good idea what GSP is all about. We're going to spend some time learning several GSP tags and templates, and we'll see how we can use layouts, and then we will see how we can create custom tags. It's very simple to create custom tags in Grails. And we'll talk about static resources management plugin, and then we will see how we can use AJAX calls. All right, so GSP basics. As we learned before, GSP is a view technology for Grails framework, and it is designed for people who have been using GSP, but it's a lot more flexible and intuitive than JSP. GSP pages live in the views directory, just under the name of the controller, as we have seen before. And then you can use you can actually render those GSP pages using render command. Like you can specify view, and then it's going to display index.gsp page. Again, these are the things that we have already learned. So GSP pages typically mix of markups and GSP tags, as we know. So the model is passed from the controller to GSP pages. And so this is an example in an action of the controller. So basically you are passing a book object instance. And this book object instance can be used in GSP pages like this. So again, we have seen many examples of this already. All right, so GSP expression. So GSP expression is like a GSP expression, and you can use the $sign and then brace, and these things will be evaluated. All right, so let's move on to GSP tags. So there are many GSP tags, and we can actually go over only a subset of those. So first, setting a variable, and also how you can specify a scope when you set a variable. So the way that you can set a variable is G. By the way, the G is the prefix for Grails tags. G set, and you're setting a variable called a var with a value of this. So this is evaluated. This expression is evaluated and is set a now variable with a value. This one we're actually setting my HTML variable with this. Of course, this gets evaluated, and the result of this will be set to my HTML variable. You can set a variable in various scopes. So here, so we have a page request, flash, and session and application scope, as we learned before last week, actually 2 weeks ago. And you can specify where that particular variable will be maintained using scope attributes. So in this case, this now variable will be maintained in request scope instead of page scope, which is default. Logic and iteration. So that is if, else, each, and while. So the syntax is relatively straightforward. So here again, this expression gets evaluated, and if it is true, then this gets executed. And else, so this is an if and else. You can use each and while. Okay. So for each of this, and you are going to display this paragraph, and here, same thing. All right, search and filter. So if you have a collection of objects, you can use find all or even grab to perform search on the inside the GSP pages. So here, basically, among these books, so this is the collection of books object, and then we are going to use this expression to check whether, so this is going to find only the book instances whose author is Mary Jones. And then for that particular book, this will be displayed. So here you can also use a filter class. So we're going to actually we're going to learn filter. We actually learned interceptor, controller interceptor 2 weeks ago when we cover controller part 1. Controller part 2 next week, we are going to learn how to create a filter. So you can specify filter class here as well. And you can even actually specify a regular expression using filter attribute. Form, so obviously form is very important. So you can use a form, the tag, and name of the form, and this is where this form will be submitted to. So in this case, it's going to be submitted to save action of book controller. And inside a form, you can have many fields. So text field, password field, checkbox, radio, and a hidden field, select, and then you can actually submit button as well. So these are something that you can use inside a form. Resource. So you can use a resource tag to specify your resource, any resource such as the CSS file, JavaScript, and images, and things like that. However, from Grails 2.0, usage of resources plugin, which actually provides very comprehensive static resource management, is actually recommended. So instead of using G-resource tag, it's recommended that you use resources plugin, and we're going to cover this resource plugin in this presentation later on. Okay, but if you are trying to access, trying to get the resource, you can certainly use a G resource like this. This is still supported, but not recommended to be used. All right. Okay. So in a few minutes, we are going to also learn the tag. GSP tags can be also used as a method calls. So here. Suppose if you have a GSP tag usage like this, that could be invoked inside inside an expression or a method call. So this is actually basic. This is the same thing. This is the same thing as this. Okay. All right. So we'll actually talk about that in a few minutes in a bit more detail. Message. So it's basically getting a message from the messages.properties file and then display. Okay. So here in this case, for each error of this book instance, you want to actually display a message, error message. And so pretty straightforward. Link. You can specify link, and then you can specify many different attributes: action, an ID, action, and the controller, and you can specify the base URL and things like that. So pretty flexible set of the attribute you can use with a link. Field value is inspect the bin which has been the subject of data binding and obtain the value of the field either from the originally submitted value or from the value of the bin's property. So it actually maintains the value that was submitted. Okay. So again, this is something that we have seen before. Okay. So here, basically, I'm trying to get the value of title field of book object instance. Okay. Or as we talked about before, you can actually invoke this tag as a method call. So this is again the same thing as this. Okay. Paginate, it creates next to a previous buttons and with the pagination. So again, so here you basically get the list of the books. And then you can paginate. Okay? And this is actually next. You can specify the value of the buttons using next or previous. Okay. has errors or each error. So again, you have seen this one before. So there are multiple options. So if you say just has errors, then it will actually check all the beans in the request scope. Okay? And if there are any errors, it will display for each of those errors using each error. This one is checking just this bean. Okay? And this one is checking the beans property. Okay, so you could have a fine-grained control in terms of which bean of which scope you want to actually see whether they have any errors or not. All right, so let's do our first exercise, exercise 1. Okay, so we are going to create our the project. We're going to call it GSP app. Okay, and so I have already created. So let's create the domain class. We're going to create a domain class, student domain class with this. Okay. So we are going to create domain class, new domain class, JPassion student. And we are going to add 2 properties, name and age, with some constraints. Okay. So I'm going to just copy this code. Okay, so name has to be unique, and the size of the name has to be between 5 and 10 characters. All right, so now we are going to actually generate all. So we are going to generate the controller actions and the views, and we're going to actually study of those. Okay, so we are going to generate new generate controller or views, or you can run the command generate all and JPassion and student. And then we are going to run the application. And then we are going to create a couple of students. Okay. And then we are going to actually study the GSP page. Actually, it should be GSP page. The GSP pages that were generated. So the first one that we are going to take a look at is show.gsp. Okay. So let's see whether it's done. Oh, we just generated, right? Okay. So we are going to run the application. Okay. And we are going to create a couple of students. Okay. So click this one and we'll generate. Oh, looks like I have not saved. My apology. Looks like I have to, I haven't saved the domain. So in this case, I have to regenerate we have to regenerate. Okay. Okay, so generate all jpassion.com student. It will ask me whether I want to override the code or not. So we'll say all. Okay, so that is generated. So now we are going to run the code. Let me make sure that we stop the previous instance, and then we are going to run it again. Run it. Okay, let's see whether it works. Let's just refresh. Okay, that looks better. So I'm going to create a couple of students. Create and create the another one. Okay, so we have created 2 students. Okay. All right, so now we are going to take a look at the show.jsp page that were created. So I'm going to actually look into the code, looking at we are going to study the code using this hands-on lab document because I emphasized what we need to take a look. So this is the gset tag. So here, this is an example of, let me actually talk about this one first, okay? Tags and method calls. As I said before, GSP tags could be invoked as a method call. So here, this is basically, the calling GSP tags as a method. So that is in fact the, create link to tag, and you are invoking it, and these are the attributes. Okay, so this is pretty convenient to actually use that tag as a method call. So this is another example. So that is we have learned the G message tag, right? So you can actually invoke that tag as a method call. Again, these are the attributes. Okay, all right. So that is basically what we are looking at. And so you can actually call the GSP tag as a method in any place, including controllers. So we can actually use this create link to tag as a method call, and then we can convert it into a string. Okay. All right. So that is basically what we are looking at. So these blue colored the notations are the usage of GSP tags as a method call. Okay. So again, so here we are using it as a method call, and that is in fact the same thing as gmessage. Okay. So here we set the entity name from this tag. Okay, so basically we go to the messages.properties file, and if there is a student.label, we're going to get that value. If it doesn't have it, then it will use a student as a default value for entity name. So we set the entity name variable, and then we are going to display again this code. Again, you go to messages.properties file and find if there is a key for this, and if there is you're going to use that. If there is not, if there is, then you're going to use this one as an argument. Okay, so the message of this code in the messages.properties file take an argument, and that argument is going to be this. Okay, all right. So that's an example of gmessage. Again, we have another gmessage here, and then we have create link. So we are again there is actually a tag called the create link. Okay, and again we are calling as a method call. And this is glink example. Okay, and we have the if and else. So here we are testing whether there is a flash message or not. If there is a flash message, then we display that message. Okay, and here we are testing whether student instance has a name or not. If it is, if it has a name, meaning if it is not null, then we are going to display this. If the student doesn't have a name, we don't want to actually display. So we are using if. And here the same thing for age field. Okay. And this is a form field, form tag. And then here we have a hidden field and also action submit tags to submit the form. Okay. All right, so that is basically this is actually show page. This is this page is from this. Okay. All right, so you can certainly see how they are related. Okay. All right, moving forward. For documentation, you can go to the Grails org documentation, and if you go over here, if you just expand this text, you're going to see the list of all the text that you can use. Okay, so if you want to actually see, for example, like a message, you can just click message here, and it will give you a documentation of this. Okay, all right, so you can see all the attributes that you can use. Okay. And so that's something that you want to go to once in a while to actually find out more detailed information of a particular tag. Okay. All right. So we're going to modify this show.jsp page. This time we are going to set another variable called the now with today's date. Okay. So I'm going to copy this code and the show.jsp page. And we want to display, we want to actually set right here. So we set the now variable with the date of right now, new date, and and then for the message that display the student, we're gonna just display that one using today's date and now variable like this. Okay, and we save the change, and let's see whether we can see the difference. Oh, so we want to actually see this is a show page, right? So we have to click one of the students. So you can see the date is now being displayed. Today's date is being displayed. And that's basically the change we just have made here. Okay. All right. So that is that. So that's what we just did. And now, so we have looked into show.GSP page. Now let's take a look at the create GSP page and edit GSP page and form GSP page template. So if you remember the views, the edit and student, they actually share a template called the form.gsp page. We're going to actually learn the template as a second topic later on. So, let's take a look at the GSP page. Okay, so again, we're going to actually use looking at the documentation. So they share pretty much the same head here, and then it has errors, and then it has a form. So this is the create page where you can enter some data to create a new student. So you can see it's actually using a template called a form. Okay. And again, these blue colored fonts are again GSP tags that are used in a form of method call. Okay. Edit the GSP page, the same thing. So again, edit here, we have because we're actually editing the existing student, it does have in fact the hidden fields for these things. But in terms of the entering data, those form fields, it's actually again using this template. So this template, form template, is being shared between edit GSP page and the create GSP page. And then we have some buttons, right? So this form.gsp page, this is a template, okay? So this is the same template that is being shared by create.gsp and edit.gsp, as I said a few minutes ago. So here is basically again using the has errors tags in the form of a method, okay? So again, these are the attributes in the form of arguments, okay? So here has a text field. It used a text field for getting a name and age. Okay. All right. So pretty straightforward. All right. Now let's try the error handling. So here we are going to try to create a new student with invalid size. So if we actually try to create a new student like ABC, and then it will have error message like this because the name field has to be the size of between 5 and 10. So this message, this error message, is actually coming from the here. So this is the create.gsp page, and it does use has errors, and is checking just the student bin instance. Okay, and then if it has errors, it will actually display each error of those and in this format. So since we have only one error, we just display just one. But if you have a multiple errors, okay, then you will actually get a multiple of those in a form of this item. Okay. All right. So that is error. Okay. So let's move on to the next topic, which is template. So we have already seen example of form template, right? So a template is a view fragment. It's a fragment of the view, and when you want to have the shared fragment, then that's the time that you want to create a template. So it is used to partition your views into maintainable chunks. So it's a reusable fragment of a view. Okay, so you can actually use a template along with layouts, and then you can actually have highly reusable scheme of structured views. Okay. All right, so let's see how you can create a template and how you can use it. So again, we have already seen example of this. Okay, so the way that you are going to create a template is using the underscore prefix, and then you are going to place in the same directory that you have your view. Okay. So here we created, for example, book template.gsp on the book views. Okay, so this is the view fragment, okay, that we can actually use in multiple places. Okay, and then when you want to render, you can actually use the template, like a book template. You don't have to specify underscore. Okay, so naming in usage of it, you do not want to place the underscore. Okay, all right. So typically you use a template for displaying a collection. So in this case, what we are saying is that for all the book, so we have a collection of book list. So this is a collection of book instances, and we want to display each of those books using this book template. Okay, so Grails handles using this template for displaying each of those book item in this collection. Okay. All right, so use of templates and controllers. So you can certainly use this template and controllers as well. So this is the case that we are creating a model object using this template, and we render. And this is actually useful, when we want to just send back the response to AJAX request. Okay, so instead of actually displaying page ourselves, we can just send the contents, string contents, so that string contents is used as a way of actually performing AJAX operation. Okay, so you can do this, or you can actually create the string content first and then send it. So both of these code are doing the same thing. All right, so let's do template exercise. So here we have already seen examples of form template, right? Okay, so now we're going to actually change form Groovy template, and then we're going to actually see both create and edit student page uses the the modified template. So form GSP page, and we're going to just add this happy templating paragraph right here. Okay, save the change, and then let's see. So if I refresh, so you can see happy templating is right here. Okay, and if I try to edit, so I'm going to go to student edit, and if I try to edit so if I click edit, you can see it also actually have the templating string from the form that from the template. Okay, all right, so that is that. Now we're going to create a new template. So I'm going to call it my template GSP. So here we are going to create the view students. So we want to create in the same directory where you have a views. Okay, so here this is the place. So we are going to create a new file. So I'm going to just call it my template underscore my template .gsp. And basically what we want to do is, if you take a look at the create GSP page and edit GSP page, these two lines of code are the shared. Okay, I mean they duplicate. Okay, so creating a template for just two lines of code might not be actually benefit you that much. But for this exercise, let's just capture this as the contents of the template. So I'm going to just copy this one, and I'm going to copy to my template that I just created. Okay, so we save it, and then we are going to change the create.gsp page, okay, and edit.gsp page to use the template. So I'm going to replace those two using my template. So I'm going to say render, and I'm going to replace this one with usage of my template, like this. Okay, and the same thing as edit GSP page as well. Okay, so I'm going to replace these two lines with usage of the template. Okay, this, and it should actually work pretty much the same. Okay, and now let's try it whether that works or not. So if I try to edit, okay, it didn't work because it says edit instead of edit student, it says null. The reason being is because if you take a look at the this template, as a default, this variable entity name is in the scope of page scope. Okay, so when we actually go to a different page, it's actually lost. So that's the reason. So we want to actually save it as a request scope. Okay, so we're going to actually add this request scope into the here. We want to save this variable into request scope. Okay, so that it is actually maintained in the request scope. Now, if I go here, if I refresh, and you can see it's reflecting that entity name student. Okay, all right. So that is template. Now let's actually see whether you can, we can use the template with a collection. So here we're going to create a student template.gsp file. So here basically for each student, we want to display the name and age. Okay, so let's create a student template. So again, we're going to actually create the same place, new, and file, and underscore student template GSP, and we are going to copy this code. Again, it's a very simple the template. Basically we want to use this syntax for displaying each student. We want to just display name and age of the student. Okay. All right. Now we're going to actually add another method, okay, called the list with template. So here is getting the list of the students and return it as a student's collection object. Okay. So I'm going to copy this code. Student controller. Okay. So I'm going to just copy this code, just adding another, the action. Okay. All right. Save it. And then we are going to create. So this, when we actually invoke this list with template, we want to create, we want to use our own GSP file. So we're going to actually create the GSP file. Okay. So here we are going to create GSP file, reflecting the same name as the action. And basically the code is very simple. We want to use the template. So we want to use the student template for each student. So we get this student collection object from that action, right? And so, then for each of those students, we're going to display, we're using the student templates. We have 2 students, right? So each of the students will display with their name and age, okay? All right, so let's save them all. And then we are going to go to this page, okay? So we are calling list with template action, okay? So as you can see, it's actually displaying name and age, okay? So if I just want to actually type another 2013 or something like that in this template, then it should actually display that one as well for each of those students, okay? All right, so that is template for the collection. So let's move on. Next one is layout. So the Grails is using SiteMesh. SiteMesh is what is called a decorator engine. It's actually using that SiteMesh decorator engine to provide the layout. Okay. So layouts are located on the views and layouts directory. So basically here, this is the where you have a layout. So you have a built-in layout, called the main.gsp page. Okay. So the layout will have the built-in. They use the built-in the tags called the layout title, layout head, and layout body. So this is the layout, and the content, actual content for the title, actual content of the head, and actual content for the body will be provided by the actual contents that are using this layout. Okay. All right. So there are multiple ways that you can specify what layout you want to use in a particular view. So the most popular form of specifying layout is using meta tag. And you can also have a layout by convention, specify a layout in a controller, an inline layout, and server-side include. So we're going to actually take a look at just these three. Okay. All right, so this is a way that you are going to use a meta tag to specify the layout. So in this case, we have so this is a layout. Actually, this is not this is not main.gsp page. This is incorrect. Okay. So basically, this is the content page, and if the content page actually specifying what layout you want to use, it's using main.gsp layout, and it gets actually displayed like this. Okay, so basically, these contents will be used for specifying the title, and this body will be used. This is my content. The content of this body tag will be used to specify to provide the body contents in the layout. Okay, all right. Layout by convention. That's the way. So we just take a look at how you can use the meta tag here. You can also specify the layout by convention, meaning if you have a layout file that actually reflects the name of the controller. Okay, so in this case, if you have a book.gsp, then this GSP layout will be applied to all the views that this book controller is delegates to. Okay, all right. You can also actually specify a particular the action. So if you have an action, on the book, if you have action.gsp, the action in this case a list action.gsp, and that layout will be used only for list action. Okay, so you have a bit more fine-grained control in terms of what layout you can use. Okay. So that's the convention by convention. You can also specify for a particular controller, the layout. Okay, so it's going to actually use layout the customer.gsp. Actually should be layout custom. Yeah, so this is incorrect. So I have to have a custom and / customer.gsp. Okay. All right, so let's do exercise 3. So here we are going to change the main layout, and we're going to just add a footer. So that footer should be applicable to all the pages of this application. So let's go to main.jsp page, and this is the one. And I'm going to just have this footer, okay, at the end of the body. and save. Now, if I go to any page, okay, so if I just refresh the page, you can see now it contains the footer. So if I go to student list, they all share the same footer because this footer is actually from the layout. That layout is applied to all the views. Okay. All right. So that's that. We can add another control. Yeah, so this is an exercise, for adding controller-specific layout. Okay, so here I'm actually creating student.gsp, and here, you can just create this one, and then, we can actually remove this one. Okay, so instead of the main.gsp, we want the controller specific layout, student.gsp. Okay, so basically this is what you get. Okay, as an exercise. All right, so I'm gonna just move ahead because we have only 20 minutes. So let's move on to the next one, custom tags. So like GSP supports a concept of custom tag libraries, but unlike JSP, it's very easy to create custom tags in Grails. Okay, and it's very flexible, and it's also reloadable at runtime. Okay, so the way that you can create a custom tag in Grails is very simple. You create a class that ends with tag live. Okay, and then you have that file on the tag live directory. So when Grails gets started, it will take a look at this tag live directory, and then it will create a tag, custom tag for each of these, the closure. Okay, so in this case, basically, I'm creating emotion, the emo icon, basically, the tag. Okay, and the tag can actually receive attributes and body. So in this case, basically, what we are doing is that if the attribute that is sent as an argument, so this is the usage. So basically, when I use this usage, I'm setting the happy attribute, and if happy attribute is actually being received as the attribute happy here, and if it is true, then it will display this icon. If it is not, then it will display this icon. And it's very easy, to use that custom tag that you have created. Okay, so you can just use like this. All right, so let's see a few more examples of the tags. So here we have a date format tag, okay, and it's receiving format and date attribute. So this is the usage. So you have, you can specify format attribute and date attribute, and using those attributes that are being passed as an argument, you can actually create a tag that displays the result. In this case, it's just using simple data format using those format and date. This is the formal student format. So we want to format the display of a student using a particular template. So in this case, we want to use this student template for this student object instance from this collection object. Okay, so this is the usage of it. So we have students collection object. And then what we want to do is basically display each of those students using this student template. Okay, so you can actually define this format student as a custom tag, and then you can just use this custom tag like this. Very simple. Logical tags. So here, we want to see whether is the user is an admin or not. Okay, so here we want to use, for example, like a isAdmin tag, and then we pass the user object. Okay, and if user object, it returns so this user object is actually being passed as an attribute, an argument in this case. So here we are getting the user object, and then we check whether user object has a privileged privilege, in this case admin privilege or not. If the user has admin privilege, then the body content, this is the body content. So when you call body method here, it's going to take contents of this and then display. Okay, so basically what it does is that if my user object is admin privilege, then this gets displayed. Okay, so very powerful. Iterative tag. So here, basically display this body 3 times. Okay, So this it is basically the number. Okay. So here this times is reflected here, and this is actually a string, right? So you want to convert it into an integer, and then it calls a times the method, passing the closure. Okay, and then we are just disclosure is actually receiving this num as an argument, so that num is actually being displayed in this it. Okay. All right, so let's do exercise 4. So, we are going to create the simple text library. So we go to text library right here. So we are going to create, you can certainly actually choose a text library here like this, okay? And then you can specify com JPassion and simple text live, okay? And then we are going to copy this code, okay? So here, we'll just copy the whole thing. So here we basically create the this emo icon tag, okay? Then we are going to modify the main layout. So, this icon will be actually displayed in all the pages, okay? So here, I copy this one, and so, we're going to go to main.gsp page here. And here we are going to add this one right here and save them all. Now, if I go to any of the page, okay, and basically you can see this this icon is being displayed, okay, like this, okay. All right. So that's that. Now let's actually add format tag library, format tag. So here I'm adding this code, format student tag. So this is something that we have learned in the presentation slides. So let's actually go to here and add another tag called the format student. Okay. So again, it actually the getting the student the collection object, and for each of those students we want to use this student template. Okay, which we have already created. Okay, so let's actually create the add another action. Okay, so I'm gonna just copy this code, and we are going to type student controller, and I'm gonna just add the second one. Okay. And then we are going to create the corresponding GSP page. So I'm going to create GSP page here. New file and GSP. And basically we want to use that tag, okay? So, we are using now format student tag and passing students, okay? That is coming from the that control action that we just have added, okay? All right, save all the changes. And then we are going to call this new action that we have just added. And again, it will display as expected, okay? All right. Okay, so now let's actually try the repeat tag library. So we're going to actually add another tag. So here, let's add this repeat tag. So what we want to do is basically we want to repeat the contents of the body, multiple times. Okay, so we just added the repeat tag, and then we are going to change this GSP page. Okay, so here we are gonna just use the this repeat tag. Okay. So we're going to just replace this one just to make it clear. Okay. All right. So now let's try to run this code. Now you can see each of this is being repeated 3 times. So actually, if you take a look at this code, we actually, these contents will be repeated 3 times. So this is what you're seeing right here, 0, 1, 2, 3. And then we're also using form student. for each of those students, right? So basically, this is actually being repeated 3 times. Okay, all right. So that's repeat tag. Now let's move on to the resource tag, which is, in my opinion, the most important topic in this presentation. Static resources management via resources plugin. So we actually take a look at the G resource tag, and that's not really powerful enough. In fact, it's not really sufficient enough in many cases. So when you are actually building web application, you have to actually manage static resources. By static resources, again, we're talking about CSS file, JavaScript file, image files, and things like that. Now, you have to actually, in general, you have to manually manage all those things, which causes the problems like this. Okay, so issues is like, first issue is the performance tuning. You want to combine those resources, you want to compress them, you want to minify those resources, especially in production environment for faster downloading. Dependency management is important. So, some resources have a dependency on others. So you want to actually specify dependencies in correct order. And and also, sorry, and you also want to make sure that the same resource does not get included multiple times. So the preventing multiple inclusion of the same resource is also important. The inclusion of resources, where you want to actually include. CSS file needs to be included in the head, and JavaScript files are in general recommended to be included at the end of the body for better performance. So that's called the default mode, deferred mode. So you want to actually have control in terms of where you want to include these resources as well. And you want to have a standard way of exposing these static resources, not only in your code but in plugins. Okay, so that consistent programming model could be actually used. And also need for extensible processing chain for optimized resources. Again, you want to actually control in terms of the chain of combining compression and minification. Okay, so these are the issues that you have to actually deal with in static resource management in reasonably good size of web application. Okay, so manually using the G resource is not actually good enough to handle all these things. That's the reason resource plugin is actually being used. So in Grails 2.0, this resources plugin is built in as a default. Okay, so you don't have to do anything in order to use this great resources plugin. Okay, so again, the reason you want to use resources plugin is, these are the issues. It's very difficult to use G resource tag, meaning, to handle those the issues that we just talked about in the previous slide. Meaning, developer has to manually handle all those issues. Okay, so resources plugin handles all these issues that we talked about here, very much, in very effective fashion. Okay, so in general, you want to use a resources plugin, and again, it's built in, so you don't have to do anything in order to use it. Okay, so these are the features. It bundles of resources into modules with dependency management. So you can specify the set of resources in a form of a module, and then each module you can specify dependencies. Processing of modules prior to serving them. So these are automatically processed before serving them, meaning it will be combined, it will be compressed, and it could be minified. Okay, well, actually there are a few other, and it could be cached. Okay, so you could actually use the companion resources. In fact, if you actually go to, let's say, go to config and build config. So these are the plugins that are already built in. Okay, so this is the resources plugin, and you can actually use other plugins like a zipped cached. These two, this will be used to zip it, and this will be used to cache it. So these two are not included as a default, but the resources plugin is included as a default. Okay, so the tech library to render links to resources and modules, and tech library. So there is a tech library that you can use. We can actually take a look at that in a few minutes. And service of resources to clients based on appropriate request. Okay. All right. So let's see how you can actually use these resources in using resources tag. So in order to use resources, your GSP page, meaning your view, must indicate which resource and which resource you want to include and where you want to include. Okay, so which modules, meaning the which resources you want to include, is specified with require. And layout resources, this specifies where to include. Okay, so in this case, what you're saying is that I want to use all the resources in jQuery module and charting module. Okay, and then I want to include those modules right here in the head. And here you also use the layout resources, and this is where you want to actually include in the body. Okay. All right, so how you can actually declare these resource modules. So here you are going to create a resource file on the config directory, like name resources Groovy. As a default, Grails application, create one for you. So if you actually go to config directory, so this is the one that gets created already. So you have the modules, and it creates just one single module called the application, and it's using just application.js file, okay, as a resource. Okay, and you can specify dependencies. So in this case, my resources module has a dependency in jQuery and utils module. So before my resources module gets loaded, all these things will be loaded first. Okay, so my resources include these 5 resources. And you can also specify a lot of attributes, and one of the attributes you can specify is that disposition, where you want to have this particular resource to be included. So in this case, when you say head, it will be included in the head. When you say disposition deferred or body, then it will be included in the body or at the end of the body. All right, so let's do static resources exercise 5. So I'm going to actually create the new resource using the same application resource Groovy here. So I'm going to just copy my resources here. So I'm creating a new module called the my resources, and I have a dependency against application resource and jQuery resource, and I have a 2 resource, the CSS1 and CSS2. So I'm going to create the CSS1 and CSS2 in the directory called the web apps. Okay, so here I'm going to create the another CSS file called the my CSS1. So here new my CSS1.css, and it's very simple. It has a very simple styling. I want to actually use, for example, like a red color for whatever I use this CSS styling for. And then I'm going to create another one, my CSS2. My CSS2 CSS file, and this one I'm going to use green color. Okay, and we save them all. Okay, so we create those 2, and then I'm going to specify where I want to use this, the CSS file. So CSS file you want to have inside the head. Okay, so I'm gonna change this main.GSP file in the layout file. Okay, to include this resource, my resources. Okay, main.GSP. So here, this is the so I want to actually include right here. Okay, so I specify what resources I want to include in the header. Okay, so okay, all right. Now I'm going to actually modify the list.GSP. Okay, so that now I want to use my styling. Okay, so basically this is an exercise for list.GSP page. I want to use my style 1 and my style 2. Okay, so list. So I want to go to here, and at the end I want to just add these 2 paragraphs using my styles. Okay, all right, now I'm going to go to the list of all the students, Okay, now you can see these two paragraphs are being used, being displayed using the styles that I have defined in the resources. Okay, I mean, this is very simple example, but imagine that you have a lot of resources that you have to deal with. For example, like a dependency management and again, optimization and all those things. So Grails has this great resource management system, which you should actually take advantage of. Okay. All right, the last topic is Ajax. We already 1 hour, but let's just finish the Ajax. I'm sure that Ajax. So basically, you are going to use this remote link for the link, the Ajax call, okay? And you specify what you want to update. So if this is successful, then I want to update the message element with a response. If it failed, then I want to update this error, so this error element with a response, okay? And the action is delete, okay? So this is remote link. In terms of form, you have two different options. You can use form remote, and then you specify the URL, and then update, okay? So here again, this is the same thing. Whenever the update operation, Ajax operation has been successful, I want to update this message element with a response. And if there is an error, I want to update this error with a response. Okay. Or you can use the form, the attack, but you are going to be able to use this submit to remote, the attack. Okay. So either one is fine. Right. So let's do our exercise. So here we are going to modify the show.gsp file. So show message, this I want to actually perform the delete, okay? But when you delete it, it actually displayed the student list. But what I want to do is that when I click delete, I want to actually just display a message here, okay? That's in the same page as an Ajax call, okay? So that's basically what I want to do. So I'm going to copy this code. So we're going to actually try the option 2. So here we are using the submit remote call. Okay. All right. So here. So you're basically adding another, the form, and then is a button. Okay. So we have a submit to remote, and the button will be a form will be actually called. It will have a value of Ajax, the delete Ajax, and then we have an update. So when there is a successful Ajax operation, then this success message will be replaced with the response from the server. If there is a failure, this error message will be replaced with the response from the server. All right, so now we are going to actually add another action to the controller. So basically, we are using delete Ajax. Okay, so instead of this using delete call, which is actually redirect to list, but we don't want to actually redirect to another page. Instead, we want to pass the string contents. Okay, so basically the same logic here, but instead of redirecting, we are basically remove these lines of code. Okay, and then you are just basically passing the message. Okay, so this message will be displayed if it is successful. It has been successful. If it is an error, it will have an error, something like that. So this return message will be used to to set those elements, this success message or error message. Okay. All right. So let's actually go to this student controller, and we're gonna just add this action. And just add any place you want. Save. Okay. So now let's go to the particular student. Okay. And now you can see we have a delete Ajax, right? So if I for example, the display the traffic, if I click delete Ajax, you can see this call is, and now you can see student 1 is deleted message is being displayed. So this message is actually from the server. So if I take a look at the contents, you can see this message is coming from the server. Student 1 deleted, and we use this string to display. Okay. All right. Now, the next exercise is the same thing, but this time we are using form remote, okay, instead of using submit to remote, okay? So it does the same thing, all right? Okay, so that is the end of the presentation.